Hello everyone, it's me Jenny and it's time for another Movie Club Strikes Back review. But this week is actually a catch-up week, so we don't actually have an official Movie Club pick, and I'm actually all caught up on my Movie Club Strikes Back reviews. So today I'm going to be talking about the one movie I watched this week. Me and my sister decided that we wanted to watch something together, and that usually begins and ends with a very, very long discussion involving, I want to watch this genre, well I kind of want to watch this genre, well let's go with this genre, oh well I'm not really in the mood for that subset of this genre, not really in the mood for that film, not really in the mood for that film, not really in the mood for that film, well I want to watch this one but I'd rather watch this more like this, well we can't get that one, let's think about this, and it ends in this loop that goes on for hours, and it's never an argument but it's always one of those like, I'm not in the mood for this, you're not in the mood for that, and it ends in one of two ways. One, a film that we considered right at the beginning of the discussion pops back up again, we think, well, we might as well watch that one. Or, what happened this time was we have got to the point where we're both kind of tired and just want to watch something together, and we just see what's on Netflix and click on it. And the film we happened to choose this week was Odd Thomas, which I actually really enjoyed. One of the things that I actually rather enjoyed about this film, that I think was one of the reasons why it's not critically well received, is the tone of this film. It's a bit flip-floppity. It's a teen detective fantasy horror movie. Not really horror, there's not really horror. It's listed under horror on Netflix, which I found really strange. It's more of a mystery fantasy type film. It's about a guy who can talk to dead people and see like these evil dead spirits, and he has kind of like psychological power type thingies, and the thing with that is it's quite a complicated genre to crack as is, but it's very slickly and beautifully directed. Like the cinematography in this is very bright, it's very upbeat, it's very slick is probably the best word for it. The action sequences are very smoothly choreographed, it's very beautifully kind of upbeatly done, and yet the tone throughout, despite this sort of airheady, slightly hipster-esque vibe, has got a lot of very dark undertones. Like there's like the whole kind of problem with this is it's about, you know, trying to stop a mass murder from happening, and there's subsets about child abuse and stuff like that, where in a book, which I know this is from a book series, you can really get into these contextual ideas and like see this entire composite thing, and depending on how you're feeling when you're reading, you can get into the upbeat fun parts and you can get into the really dark parts. And a book is because it's much more of a psychological experience, it's easier to balance those factors, while in a film it's a very different experience. It's very hard to balance those dark sides and the light sides and not focus on both, and I think this is a really good balance. But for example, me and my sister, I was going through it the entire way going, oh god, everyone's going to die at the end. I feel like either like he's going to swoop in and save them in the end, but thousands of people are going to die, or thousands of people are going to die, then he's going to save the day, but end tragically, like he's going to die. And she was going, no, that's not how this tone is. No, this is really upbeat. This is going to be all positivity. And in the end, it was kind of an amalgamation of both of our thought processes. And that feels very much like a novel to me. I know it's very much based on a novel. It feels kind of like a fantasy John Green type story in that it's slightly hipstery. There's overtures and monologues. It's witty and it's upbeat in many of the ways. It's very beautiful people on screen. And it's got a lot of very complex ideas, but it's still lighthearted, and got some very dark undertones. I think the acting is pretty good. The music and the choreography feels very John Green-esque. It's very hipstery, upbeat, kind of enjoyable, light-hearted fun, and yet what could happen is very dark. The action is very well directed. The romance is very sweet, and even with the twist at the end, even though I saw it coming from a mile away, it was still enjoyable enough. I like the fact that there's a lot of ideas that are kind of filtered in through this, which could hint to a much wider universe. This character, who is the lead character, Odd Thomas, clearly has a past and he has a future at the end of this film, which means that I know it's from a book series, so there's, you know, a franchise that could happen in the future, and there is prequels that happened in the book. So I like the fact that it's a very complex, full world, and it feels like a very good book to film translation. That means that for me, I really, really enjoyed it, but it's not necessarily a great film. I think it's a really enjoyable film, and if you enjoy books and you enjoy book to film translations, this is a really, really great one. If you're not so keen on judging a film by its source, I don't think you'll enjoy this. It's a bit, as I said, the tone is interesting. It's very, very similar to a book. If you don't like that sort of thing, I don't think you'd enjoy this film, but I really, really enjoyed it. I think it was really well done. I think the graphics are one of those things where, take it with a pinch of salt. They worked out how to do one thing pretty well, and they ran with it, and that's how the animation in this works. It's pretty well animated, but it's minimal, and it's not going to blow your mind away, but it does what it needs to do, and it does it well. Overall, I think it's really enjoyable, sort of mystery, teen, horror, psychological thing, and I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it if you're in the right mood for something that's quirky and upbeat and hipsterish and kind of like a hipster version of Supernatural. I'm just going to go with that as my end conclusion. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well written, well acted, and very, very well directed. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Odd Thomas. Feel free to comment down below if you share my thoughts. Have you seen this film? Have you not seen this film? Have you read the books? I have not read the books, but they are very much going into the top of my to-read list. Yeah, those are my thoughts. See you next week for another Movie Club Strikes Back review. And yeah, bye guys.